yourself and your project, and then we'll do some normal conversation. Okay.
Fair enough.
So yes, we are live. Let me just see what's happening here. Okay, yeah, we are live, and I'm here with John. John, how are you doing?
I'm not doing too bad. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on at short notice. You booked it, and here we are. So very nice to meet you, and I'm excited to hear about you and your project. But first, just take us back to your childhood, and were you raised Catholic or at least Christian? What happened with your parents, your siblings, with the faith journey and all that sort of thing? What was it like in the home growing up, and then all the way up to today? What's the faith journey been like in an overview?
Well, I was born and raised in Saginaw, Michigan, which is about 2 hours north of Detroit.
Okay, you're not far from Canada then. I'm in Montreal, Quebec, Canada.
Okay. And basically, growing up, the church was our foundation. We lived near St. Helens Parish, now known as Christ the Good Shepherd, which I still attend, actually, despite a 7-year break, give or take, for different reasons. But my parents and I are still active in the church. My parents attend a small faith prayer community in Montrose, Michigan, which is about 40 minutes or so from me, give or take, called the Mount Zion Community. So growing up, church was foundation. I did the altar serving for a bit. I'm currently part of our parish choir, one of the small members of our group right now. So I'm still fairly active in the church in addition to the stuff I do with the project. And I'm very well known over there. What the project is I build a giant church of my own creation using Lego. I build it, display it, tear it down, and then start the process all over again.
Oh.
So 24 years, 24 different designs.
Oh, wow.
And the core of what I do is related to disability because I've got a mild form of cerebral palsy, even though it is not readily noticed. But I'm showing that no matter what challenge or disability you face, God can still use your talents. And this is a message that I live. This is a message I talk about. And I can take an endless amount of time to build one project. It takes about a month and a half, depending on 1,001 factors.
Wow, amazing. What's your favorite creation so far? Do you name these things? Like, do you call this the Church of John, the Church of David? What do you call them?
I really don't necessarily say that I have a favorite one because they're all favorites in some ways. Each one has their own unique kind of story connected to them. Either things that happen during the build or things that happen during the season. I think one of my favorite ones, season 4, obviously stands out for me because that's when I started doing the Christ the Good Shepherd winter display, Advent display. I've been going there every year since, and I'll probably be there again this year for my 20th time.
Ah.
My longest running display, and kind of like the ending of my season, so to speak.
Wow. So let me see. I wonder if I could actually, I didn't prepare properly. I should have prepared some sort of screen thing where I could share the screen and show some of your photos. Do you have some photos handy, or should I just go on the internet and try to put some on the screen here?
You can pull some. I got some up on the Twitter feed, or that I just posted a couple days ago. I did or about a week ago, I did one of my infamous picture threads where I go through all the seasons.
Okay. So
24 years, 24 different buildings, and that's a lot of fun. You're taking time. It will take me about a month or so, depending on, as I said, some of the factors is how complex am I being this year? Am I being overly ambitious? How smooth is the build actually going? Am I running into problems with design where I have to take a day or two to figure out a problem? Because I'm kind of building it both for artistic structure, but I also got to take into consideration that this thing is moving. So I got to make sure that this thing is strong enough to be able to handle a 40-minute car ride.
all right. I think I have on the screen. Unfortunately, you can't see it, right? You can't.
Probably not.
You can't see it unless you go to my YouTube, and then you'll be able to see it. But I'm just going to put it on the screen here. And let me see if I can adjust it like that. This is cool. I mean, when you watch it back, you'll see what I'm showing.
Yeah,
But you're probably familiar with each and every one of these images very intimately anyway.
for the
So
most part.
it's beautiful. I love the lighting. I'm just looking at one now, and it's like going down the what do you call it? Where you the aisle, I guess you call it,
Yeah.
and it's lit. You put lights inside of it.
Yes, I use Christmas tree lights, off the shelf LEDs right now. I have it the way that I've had it set up for the last several years. I think going back to as far back season 20, I do this kind of this have this U-shaped balcony, which underneath it hides the row of lights that light up the lower half, and then everything's kind of tied into one of the bell towers. So I've got everything connected into one bell tower with the plug coming out, and that way I can light it, and people can actually see inside because there's so many details in it. I try and make this as realistic as I can, and a lot of people wonder, well, what kind of architectural training have you had? I haven't had any.
Amazing, amazing. I'm looking at now where there are people in the pews. Okay, it's a top-down
There,
view in the pews, and it's well lit. They're all facing sort of the camera, the front of the church facing the altar. So I've got a picture on the screen now, which is a top-down view, and it shows the Christmas lights
yeah.
with the wires and everything above the people, and it's like a full house in the church, which is like kind of like a fantasy because I've never ever seen a full church.
Well, you know what though? Going back to that for a minute, that's actually a common I get from people when they're looking at the project. And my usual response to that is that is not a reflection of the past.
Right.
Rather, it is a prayer for the future.
Ah, ah,
And you'll also notice in there that there are people with obvious disabilities or challenges.
oh, okay,
I have people in there with wheelchairs,
okay.
a couple power chairs of my own creation.
Ah,
I also have a couple service animals inside there.
ah. I saw the dog. Yeah, I saw a white dog.
There's a couple cats in there, but that on
Okay.
the upper balcony, there are two cats hiding in there as well, based on two different stories. The first one is growing up in the parish, we had a cat that lived across the street, and one day the doors were open and the cat came in.
Mm, cute.
And then the other cat is in memory of a cat that I had for about 10 years. I adopted her when she was 9, lived to the ripe old age, 19, and she'd get in the way as I'm trying to build it. She wanted to be
Ah,
on the table. She'd sit down on the uh, workstation as I'm trying to build pews. I'm trying to build these pews,
ah.
and she just did not want to move. It's like, how can that be comfortable? Seriously.
Do you do the photography too?
Yeah, how I'm doing for the photography, at least for the last season or two, is just my cell phone.
No way.
Yeah,
Right now I'm looking at I'm just blown away by the beauty of this church here. It's in sort of the foyer, I guess when you just enter the church, there's a little anteroom or something, and it's got like a brown brick thing and a couple of statues on the wall. And it's got lots of big windows, and it just looks like a beautiful, beautiful neighborhood, a beautiful church. And you're sitting in a chair, and there's like a family looking at one of your things on the table.
okay. That's probably from the, I'm going to guess it's probably from All Saints over in Bay City.
Okay,
Probably St. Boniface campus.
okay.
Because I've got a couple photos of where I'm at on that. I had one of my friends at one point take a picture of me while I was doing the display because I wanted to. I actually just wanted to kind of get a picture of where I'm in my element. I've been out to All Saints in Bay City quite a few times with a couple of different projects over the years. And it's always a fun time whenever I get to go. The wonderful parish community. I think that's part of the unique nature of my work is I'm able to go out into the community to different parishes that are willing to host me. I gave a presentation last year when I was over in Gladwin and in Harrison, Michigan, where I'm talking about the project. talking about different things related to it. And I think people gained a lot of information from that. And that's just something I talk about. I talk about inclusiveness within the church. And for me, it's like I'm a guy living with disability. I have my own set of challenges, and yet here I am trying to live the faith the best I can. Not always easy in this current age.
Absolutely. Um, Before we dig deeper, I'm gonna see if I can send you actually the picture. Do you see in the chat there on I just sent you a little thing, a link by chat. Can you click on that and just see
Yeah, let's see.
so you
Oh
can
yeah,
confirm?
yeah. That's the Saint Boniface campus of All Saints.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember what. Oh yeah, that's season. That'd be season 22.
Wow. So let me ask you a question about the work that you're doing in terms of meeting people and traveling and seeing the architecture of the beautiful churches that we have in North America and in the world at large. What have you been impressed by in terms of people and in terms of architecture in the Catholic world?
Well, at least as far as the local areas go, from the different parishes that I go, I think what stands out to me more than the buildings are the communities.
Yeah.
I've been to some parishes that almost all the parishes I've been to have a strong sense of community. There's a welcoming presence when I come in. There is this beautiful nature about the church. And it doesn't matter whether it is done in a more traditional style or a more progressive. I'm personally more traditional when it comes to church design, which is reflected in how I build. But what stands out to me more than anything else is the community. When I visit a parish, I want to feel like I belong there, that I'm truly being greeted, not just as someone who brings the giant church of Legos, but also as a visitor,
Yeah.
as a stranger walking into the doors. And I think that that's important of a reflection of how we should always be to those who are visiting. We don't know where someone is at spiritually. When they come into our church, we do not know their story. And sometimes we don't take that time to learn. We
Absolutely.
have a gentleman who just started coming to our church about a year ago, and he's a very quiet fellow. And he got asked one day to see if he could play the piano before mass because he was doing it at another parish, and they no longer wanted to do it there because of the pandemic stuff. Pandemic did a lot of chaos, but he starts playing about 20 minutes before mass. He plays this beautiful music. He uses our piano and just does this wonderful job. And the parish has embraced him. The parish has welcomed him.
Mhm.
And goes for me as someone who likes to use his talents to share the faith. That's a way of evangelizing. That's a way of reaching out, sharing the love of the faith through our talents.
Absolutely. I have a friend and one of my guests, Tom Manier. He's a beautiful pianist. And he actually ended up getting a gig, a little part-time gig at my parish, my original parish back when I used to live in a different part of town. And so I went over and I saw him and I saw my old priest and the piano playing was very dramatic and very, very moving. And he did a rendition of the Ave Maria and it was very dramatic and very heartfelt. And yeah, it moved me to tears. It's like that's the power of authenticity, no matter what you're doing. If it's art, architecture, music, whatever it is, you can bring authenticity to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what touches people's hearts.
Yeah, and I think we have lot of different ways to do that. For me, I've had people come up, both the kids and the adults really love my work. The kids, they see it's big, it's bright, it's Lego. They're the ones that are looking inside, looking for all the little hidden details. They're the ones that find R2D2 sitting up in front. They're the ones who will find just these kind of off place things that are in there. But that gets the kids' attention. That way I know that they're looking. I know they're seeing inside. The adults, on the other hand, see a lot of themselves.
Uh-huh.
I've seen people come up and point themselves out inside. I've seen people comment about the fact that the church is always full, and that's when I usually go give my opportunity to talk about
Future.
the prayers and stuff. And that's a lot of what I do about what the project is prayer. praying with my hands as I'm building.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think if there's anything to learn about me is that prayer is the center of my life. I'm praying about everything that goes on, and when I'm working on the project, that's a prayer. I pour everything into what I am doing. My hands are conveying whatever's troubling my spirit on the day, whether it's issues with the church, whatever crisis of the day going on in the world, uh, or stuff just even local to me. I'm praying for those situations and intentions. Uh, this
Yeah.
takes me countless hours to do. So I've got a lot of prayer time
Amazing.
into it.
Amazing. Do your
And
fingers hurt?
sometimes, usually, the hardest part is usually when I'm building, when I'm putting the floors in.
Oh, okay.
Going technical for a second, the floors are a couple step process because first I have to mark out the center aisle, get the center aisle design in place. Then I have to figure out any other extra detail for the tile work because I'm using 1x1 rounds at that point for all the detail work that goes
Wow.
into the floors.
Wow.
And I could use a couple thousand 1x1 rounds in multiple colors. So I got that I got to worry about. The hard part is actually getting the rest of the plates in for the mainline floors where the pews sit.
Ah.
There's no point in doing any kind of tile work for that because that's just going to cover over anyway. So then I'm pressing down carefully, and by the time that I'm done with that, my fingertips are raw. Oh, that'll take me at least 2 days, depending on what kind of mood I'm in. Uh, on this current season, season 24, what's kind of unique about this one in terms of how it got built is this is the first one in a long time where I've actually built it in about 30 days.
Okay.
I think the last project that took only that short amount of time was season 19, but different set of circumstances at 19. For 19, I was in a rush at that time, which I'll get to in a second. But for season 24, I did a lot of sub-assemblies where I just take sections of parts, build them
Uh-huh.
early, set them aside, and wait till I need it, which made things a lot smoother.
Prefab.
But it doesn't save that much time.
Okay.
I wasn't doing it as a time saver. I was doing it to reserve parts that I might need for later. I was trying to avoid having to do a major bricklink order, which I've done before mid-season,
Oh,
and that would have delayed me a little bit till the parts came in. And I think
oh.
I ended up doing, I think if I recall correctly, I think I did do a bricklink order midway through, but I did it in such a way that I didn't need the parts until like about a couple weeks later down the road.
How many parts do you have in total if we count each and every little part?
I would say close to 25 to 30,000 pieces easy. What a lot of people do not see is the way the bell towers are built,
Okay.
the way that the lower half is tied together with plates.
Okay.
I use a lot of plates tying everything together, creating the cleats for the lights for the lower half, the balcony plates that set in. And then, of course, I've got the entire roof grid, the pedestal for the giant roof cross, and the roof cross itself, which weighs about 2 pounds in its own right.
Do you have a special deal with Lego where you get better pricing than the
No,
average?
what happens is I use an online company called Bricklink, which is basically a Lego flea market.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of vendors on there, and I will shop
Oh,
through. And if I've done business with them before, I'll give them first consideration if they
yeah,
have what I'm looking for.
yeah,
Uh, but what happens is I get people that want to help out.
yeah.
They want to either donate directly to allow me to update the parts as needed, to buy replacement parts, or they'll offer to buy sets or something through Amazon, through my Amazon wish list, like for minifigures and stuff, so I can keep adding people into the project. My eventual goal is to get the entire lower half and the upper half balcony completely filled with figures.
Ah,
That is one of my goals. Uh, and it's always a fun challenge with it. Different seasons bring different challenges with it. Season 19, going back to that for a minute, I was on a time crunch because they were doing major renovations where you actually literally move out your stuff to be able to, so they could work on it, because they took carpet out, they redid the bathrooms, redid the kitchen, And that happened to be right at the same time I wanted to build the project. So I had about 30 days to get it finished and get it over to where I usually keep it, which is the my apartment complex commons area. The property owners were more than happy to accommodate me on that. And sure enough, 30 days later, I think, yeah, about 30 days.
What do these things weigh? Have you weighed them?
I'm going to guess about close to 50 to 80 pounds.
That's not too bad. That's not too
No,
bad. Two
well,
people
part
can
of the-
carry that. Two people can carry that easily.
Two people can carry it, or if you got mobility issues like I do, we put it on a coffee cart.
Okay.
And part of the weight too is the plywood station that it's built on, which makes transportation of it, moving it a lot easier because you've actually got something to grab than just the Legos themselves. I imagine the project itself wouldn't weigh as much, but the plywood station and also the giant roof cross, which is like my centerpiece, which is a separate piece that drops in and doesn't move. And it's strong enough to survive falling off a table.
Do people pick up a brick and put it in their pocket and leave with pieces of your art?
But I have had little kids reach their hands in and grab things I didn't think they could grab. And it's like I've had it happen a couple times, and it's like I just have to laugh. I just have to laugh. I mean, I think the hosts are more worried about it than I am.
Let the little children come unto me.
I mean, it's like they even get nervous when I encourage the kids to ring the bell towers.
Okay.
Because there are actual bells in the tower. I don't know if you saw that yet.
No.
Yeah, there are actual bells in the tower. And there's a little knob on there that they can swing.
Cool. Very cool. So I was looking for a picture of you for this for my thumbnail, and I saw you were on Word on Fire. Is that Bishop Barron's?
Yeah. I'm gonna butcher his last name. Solano or Serrano. He's on Twitter. He interviewed me as a freelancer.
Okay. Cool.
Very good guy.
Is he a journalist or?
Just a freelance writer.
Okay.
He does some stuff.
He's Catholic.
Perilous Realms, I think, is one of the things he's involved with.
Okay, I'm not
on Substack.
Okay.
Worth checking out, though.
Okay. Yeah, I'll check out that interview and I'll check out his work. Are you a fan of Bishop Barron? He seems like he's got a lot of cultural knowledge and he seems like a moderate sort of guy, but some people accuse him of being a little bit too soft on God's judgment.
You know what? I'm more focused on the faith than I worry about the personalities per se.
Yeah, of course.
As long as he's willing to serve the faith, that's all that matters. But then again, no matter what we do, we're always going to be judged in one way or the other. We're never going to be good enough for someone.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so I don't get into those constant debates.
Good.
It's not that I don't have an opinion. It's just it doesn't matter in the long run.
It's not fruitful.
Yeah, I'm focused on trying to do what God is asking of me, which is not always easy at times.
Are there enemies that God allows to come and critique you in your work?
I've had people critique me. Let them.
Yeah.
I had one guy criticize me because I'm a Lego builder. And because I'm probably a little bit more heavier set than most, but it's like, who cares? So what matters to me is that what really matters to me is so long as I'm serving Christ, using my talents, that's all that matters to me.
Yeah.
Let people say what they will.
Do you get fan mail, or is it today in today's world of social media just followers and stuff?
I get comments here and there. I get people react to stuff I post, which is usually nice.
Who's the gentleman who pointed you to me or me to you on Twitter? Do you know that gentleman?
I've run into him a couple times. Joe Sales, I think.
Sales, yeah. Is that his name or is that his title? He's a salesman.
I think I think that's his name.
Okay.
Yeah, he's another one of those writers. He's got his own newsletter on Substack as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I thought that was nice. I'm not sure why he mentioned me, but maybe he was aware of my little podcast. My podcast is very small, as you may know, not 20 followers. Matter. Yeah.
Seriously, it doesn't matter as long as I get a chance to have a conversation.
Yeah.
What kind of brought about it was, I think the reason why you got tagged in it is because I had made a comment. Either I think I made a comment on Twitter or I'd asked a couple media types, when are you going to do an episode on disability, on faith and
Ah,
disability? And
ah,
that's kind of how the conversation got started.
I see.
And I'd asked two major names in Catholic media right now. Neither one responded. But then again, I don't know if they're actually running their own.
Right.
They're running their own content. They may have someone that's posting stuff for them, stuff like that. Disability, at least from my perspective, is one of the more overlooked things.
Yeah.
There are a lot of. I'm trying to figure out a good way to say it. It is not always clear cut in how to handle things with those with disabilities because the wide range of disabilities that are out there, some people may not see their challenges as having a direct impact in their life. I know some of the things that I talk about is the lack of transportation within the church. This is an issue I run into every so often because if I didn't have my choir director come to pick me up for mass, I wouldn't have a way to get there.
Oh,
My parents live out of town, and it's in bus service doesn't run on the weekends here in this town. And even then, it wouldn't be easy for me to get there because there's no bus route that gets near to my church. And with my mobility issues, I'm not good for walking very long distances because I've got the balance issues because of the cerebral palsy. So there are a lot of people out there like me who may be struggling to try and find a ride to mass. And they don't know who to ask within the parish because they don't have the contacts. They don't have the established people that they know. And I run into this sometimes with the project because I don't drive. I don't always have an easy way to get out somewhere. And really, the best way to make a display happen is to have a contact person who can act as a go-between with whoever is in charge of the parish and understand that I do need a ride to come out there. I often say that I'm willing to go where the Lord sends me. I'm just praying He sends me somewhere.
yeah. Yeah. Well, often I do, it's easy, like you said earlier, it's easy to critique the people in the church, the hierarchy of the church. It's easy to critique even Pope Francis if you wanted to, which I don't want to, but a lot of people do, and a lot of people make a lot of money critiquing Pope Francis. And these are supposed to be Catholics that are doing it. But in any case, we can agree to disagree with about a lot of stuff, and no need to get into it. But one of my critiques of my local parish is, I love my local parish, but it's empty. There's no one in there, like 5 or 10 people on a Sunday, and the capacity is 500, so, or 1,000. So it's a nice big church, but it's empty. So my critique is, why aren't we doing outreach? And Pope Francis says, well, we can't proselytize, but I'm not asking to proselytize. I'm asking to just like remind people that live in the parish, like, hey, we've got this beautiful architecture, this beautiful organ, the beautiful organ music, and the singing and the homily. And even if you're not Catholic, why don't you come and check it out? And if you are Catholic and you've been away, don't be scared. There's no one going to chastise you. Come on in, go to confession if you feel like it. If you want to take communion or whatever, go to confession. And if it's been 30 years, that's great. That's good news for us to have you back.
Well, part of the issue too is that a lot of parishes we don't take advantage of the tools that we have at hand. We have social media. We
Yeah.
could make the word. I think one of the bigger things is that people don't realize that we're still around. Our parish is still around. We've got our parish is clustered with another parish.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because our church is one of the larger buildings, and we're lucky we're kind of empty too. I think part of that too was the pandemic, but I think
Yeah.
a lot of it too is that people just no longer make Christ a priority in their lives anymore.
Yeah.
But I think that's a lot of that is not so much part of the fault of the priests on what they're preaching about. It's the fact that we as the lay community are not willing to go out and share our faith.
Yeah.
When I'm out in the store, I keep a stack of business cards on me.
Ah.
with the project.
Uh-huh.
And I invite people to check out my work, and I'm hoping that through some of that, you plant seeds to encourage them.
Yeah.
We don't encourage people to come to Mass. We don't, especially when they're struggling with issues of the faith. Some people would just rather push you away. We don't want you. And yet that's not what Christ did. He welcomed everyone to try and encourage them to repent,
Yeah.
to come before God. We don't do that. A lot of our churches don't evangelize. But then again, but evangelization falls on us. We should be the ones going out. And one of the things that really kind of gets to me is the Great Commission was not for a select few, it was for everyone. And I think in some small way, that's one of the reasons why I talk about my work so much is this is the way I evangelize. This is the way I'm sharing the faith. This is why when people look at my project, they see the full people there. It's an encouragement. It's a prayer. I had one story from a couple of seasons ago where a little girl found out that I was going to be at a church with the Lego Church, and she dragged her parents to come out and see it because she wanted to see the church.
Cute.
And that's the kind of stuff that gives me hope. We're entering into the year of the Eucharist, and we need to do a lot more with it. There are a lot of Catholics out there that sadly don't believe in the real presence.
Yeah.
But we don't talk about it.
Yeah.
How often do we hear about it? Not just from the priest, but once again, it goes back to the laity. What are we willing to do to share the faith? How are we willing to encourage others? If the Catholic Church is important to us, we should be in our own way sharing as to why that is. How can we be a light to someone else when we're not sharing that light?
Has a priest ever blessed your work or your actual Lego buildings?
Yes. A Passionist priest, I believe out of Texas, named Father Cedric. You can probably look for him on YouTube. He was visiting. He happens to be good friends with some members of our parish, and he was there. They showed up, and he gave a quick blessing I'm trying to remember. I can't remember which season. I think it was season 22. I know a lot of different events in my life by which season I was in at the time.
Wow, that's amazing. Have you ever? I guess what I could ask about your project is, does it travel for the season, or is it stuck in one church for the season?
No, I try and go to about 5 or 6 places if I'm able to. Okay. If a parish is willing to host me, I will go, and we can work out the transportation details. I'm more than happy to come out.
Yeah,
I'm more than happy to be present, to talk about different things. I was over at a parish up in Midland last year, and I got to talk to the kids for their faith formation class. Got to talk to both the kids and the parents. I gave this little presentation that I have where I talk about a little bit about the disability that I have and how important it is regarding faith and stuff. And then, of course, you get the kids asking fun questions about the project, not just from the standpoint of the building, but what goes into it emotionally.
Oh, yeah?
What goes into my mindset as I'm preparing to build.
Wow.
And I think part of the element with that is when I'm sitting down with the bricks, I have a blank canvas. I've got 1,000 ideas of where I want to go, but sometimes the Lord takes me in a different direction. It is very rare that a project is finished as I originally envisioned it.
Mm.
And that's just the nature of it. And that's one of the fun challenges every year is finding something creative and new to do while still holding on to a little bit of the memories of the past.
Yeah. Was there a crisis moment where you're like, oh my God, I've gone down the bad path. I didn't expect this to happen, and now I have to, what am I going to do? Do I abandon it?
I've run into a couple of those. Let's see. Season 6.
Okay. Season 666.
No, I was doing the roof. I was building the roof, and it was one of the last dome roofs I attempted.
Okay.
Because seasons 1 through 5, had these nice dome roofs on top.
Okay.
Season 6 had problems because for whatever reason, the Legos, as I was building them up, the Legos were rotating. And by the time I got up to the top of
It
the roof,
spiraled. It spiraled.
yeah, and there was a difference between the left side and the right side of about a half
Oh.
inch. So I'm trying
Oh.
to straighten this out and I cracked the roof. So it's like, okay,
Oh.
I'm going to take it down enough. I'm going to take it down enough that it's not rotating anymore. Chop it off, put a plate in, call it good.
Okay.
And then I ended up having to do that on season 8 because I ran out of parts. I was going to do it higher up than what it ended up becoming, but I literally ran out of parts. So yeah, there have been a few nuclear oopses here and there in the building. Most times I can usually correct it. Mistakes happen. I think I was on my way to Bay City and I realized, oh, I put the piece in the wrong spot.
Oops.
Oops.
Are you worried about colors? Do colors have a spiritual meaning for you?
I just more out of tradition than anything else.
Okay.
I've always used red as the main. Red is the main building because that kind of reminds me of the red brick of St. Helens Christ the Good Shepherd.
Okay.
And of some of the other churches in the area, I use blue as the backup color.
Okay.
So basically, and it kind of blue kind of becomes the accent color for the
Yeah.
main walls.
Yeah.
I've always used yellow and white as part of the roof color scheme as the main colors for the roof. Although I also use white for the pews and for the altar area, and then I use a couple other different colors just for standout.
Yeah.
I use the translucent blue and light blue for the floors. I'll sometimes use green and pink in the translucent colors as well. Just kind of like create little highlights here and there.
Yeah.
At least for the internal altar area, I like to use the combination of the white and the translucent blue and the dark blue, translucent dark blue, because it just stands out. It makes everything kind of gets people's attention.
Do you have dreams about Lego?
Sometimes.
Are they good dreams? Are they good dreams or are they feverish, annoying dreams?
Sometimes they are dreams about things that are happening.
Okay. Anxiety dreams or?
Just dreams of things of a Lego build going wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or of a display that just goes off the rails at some point. Those are usually the fun ones. It's like, especially when I've been working on it for a couple hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the fun time.
It's
that's
intense.
When
have you ever done jigsaw puzzles?
I have occasionally. It's not something I usually do.
It's a different thing. It's a different thing, but my wife and I do them. And right now we're sort of just gone through a phase where we did a couple of big ones. And it's sort of like an obsessive, repetitive task, searching for the piece, where does it go, and all this. And then I end up, after hours and hours and hours of that, I close my eyes and I see puzzle pieces. And then I go to bed at night and I try to sleep and I'm just seeing puzzle pieces.
I've had moments where I've been working on sections of the project for a couple hours and I step away for a bit and my fingers are raw still, so I can still feel the indentations of the parts in my fingers for a while. And then sometimes I'll be trying to figure out a project or a part or something. I'll be sitting in the middle of church and I'm still trying to work out mentally a problem that I'm coming up with. It's like, oh, I could do that. Oh, I could do this. Oh, I could actually, okay, that works.
Cool. That's fun. That's creative. That's creativity for you. That's the fun, exciting part.
I've had a lot of moments where I've come up with ideas right in the middle of church. I'm studying, especially when I'm visiting a parish, I'm studying the church while I'm there. And I'm always trying to get ideas on what I could do. There was one time, I think it was just after Lego had announced their wheelchairs, that they were starting to make wheelchairs. They hadn't hit the market yet, so I wasn't able to get my hands on one at the time. But I was heading into a season build, and one of the parishioners brought her daughter who's got cerebral palsy, and she's in a power chair. And I think I'm sitting in the choir, so I'm able to see this. I am spending the majority of the time mentally in my head trying to figure out, could I build a power chair out of Legos? Could I do that? And I think by the time I got home, within about an hour or two, I had a working prototype.
Ah.
And that's one of the power chairs that's inside the project.
Oh, really?
With a figure representing the lady. Her name's Caitlin.
Ah. And you told her about it?
Yeah, I told her and her mom about it. In fact, full story, we were at Mass for, I forgot one of the holy days, and Caitlin was there. As soon as Caitlin found out that the project was here at the church, her mom could not keep up with her. She bolted over on her chair over to go see it.
It's cool. That's exciting.
And there are stories like that. I've had people over the years tell me that my project gives them hope. Last year, I was over in St. Louis, Michigan, and a grandmother had their grandson over, and he's got cerebral palsy. And she told me that my project gave them hope.
Nice.
So just kind of made my day a little bit.
Of course, yeah. What about nativity scenes at Christmas? Is that something you thought about doing?
I've thought about it. I just haven't had the space or the parts.
But do you enjoy looking at all the many nativity scenes from around the world in the Catholic Church? There are many, many styles. There's the classic one. There are the new age, sort of modern ones, maybe cringeworthy. Maybe you don't like them so much.
There's a lot of cringeworthy art out there, not just in the Catholic circles. But I love looking at different churches as well. Regardless of whether it's a more modern building or a classic, I have my traditionalist leanings, obviously, and I think that influences some of my design. But at the same time, I can't exactly fault a parish community for going in the direction that they do. I would like to see some restoration of some of the traditional elements. We've really moved away from the artistic style of some of the early churches, and I'd love to see that come back a bit. That's just my personal commentary on that. And I try and incorporate things as much as I can within the confines of Lego. So I'm trying to present my own unique style on it. I've had people comment that my churches look more Catholic than some Catholic churches they've run into.
The spaceship,
that says a lot.
The spaceship design where it's like a big circle. You've been inside those churches?
Yeah, actually,
1960s and 70s.
St. James Campus, All Saints Parish, they've got a circular design, and that's actually a pretty well built layout. It is done in a bit of a circular design, but they also have a dedicated adoration chapel. As you go around, you can actually go to the adoration chapel. And beautiful parish, beautiful community over there.
Yeah.
And I think what goes back to earlier. That's what gets me more than the design itself, is how welcome do I feel there? Do I feel like I'm a total stranger, or do I feel like I am meant to be there? And I've gotten that in some of the more liberal parishes, and I've gotten that as well in some of the more traditional parishes that I've visited.
Yeah.
The sense of welcoming.
I agree with you 100%. Like, it's not about the architecture. And like even the the avant-garde ones or whatever that I've been in, it's just looking for the reverence. Is the reverence there? And that's it. And the space is beautiful in its own way. And I understand the architect, what he had in mind, and I think it works. Sometimes more than others, but who am I to critique an architect? I'm not an architect, so. Yeah.
Technically, neither am I. I'm just a guy who builds churches with Legos.
Yeah. So it's pretty exciting. What do you envision for the future in terms of your project? Are you just gonna work till your fingers fall off, or are you gonna expand and sort of morph into different things? If you get tired of doing the same thing, then you have to change, right?
Well, each year is a new chance to learn. And within the last couple of years, I've been doing a bit more writing,
Oh yeah.
reflections of my own work,
Huh.
reflection on disability.
Okay.
I've got the Praying at the Bricks Substack, going to be kind of not so much relaunching, but I've got a blog that I'm going to be posting content to as a section on my Substack.
Okay.
I've already got some stuff. I already got some pieces up there right now. It's going to be a combination of new material and either direct reposts from my other blog or rewrites of past blog entries for the new content uh, under the Building Faith banner, which is a section under my Substack. It's not been publicly announced yet, but it's kind of soft launched.
Uh, other than myself, did Mr. Sales help you to find other Catholic media that you weren't aware of beforehand?
Not yet, but you know what? It's all in God's hands.
Yeah.
Seriously, the fact that I'm able to come up onto any program and talk faith, disability, and Legos, which is kind of a unique combination when you think about it. I'm the only guy that has turned this into a disability ministry where I can talk to people about it. And I've been able to give some presentations. There's a YouTube video of the one presentation question and answer I did from last season. And I'm hoping to do something like that again. Maybe one of the parishes I visit at can record me and can get that up on YouTube where I get to talk to people. And other people actually get to see what I'm doing.
Were you scared to do public speaking the first time you tried it?
Kind of, sort of. I've been doing so many podcasts that it just came naturally for me to do something in front of a camera.
Okay. Okay.
But also, too, one of the other little unique things about me is I'm also an amateur radio operator.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, that's why you see the stuff on most of my postings listed on Twitter under KC8WZM. That's my amateur radio call sign.
Oh, how do we tune into that?
It's kind of a little more difficult on that because you can monitor different frequencies on the amateur bands, but I'm usually on the local area.
I see.
So,
I see.
But yeah, I take part in a couple different things. Like through National Weather Service, we have a program called Skywarn, where we basically are weather spotters. I don't go out and chase storms. I just sit in my living room and watch things unfold. Although I have done that. I have done storm chasing before, and it is interesting.
Scary, yeah.
But so yeah, I've been doing a lot of the amateur radio stuff, so I'm comfortable with talking.
Are
comfortable?
Yeah. Do you have a calling to marriage? Like, how old are you now? And is it possible that you could meet the love of your life and get married and have kids? Is that possible with cerebral palsy?
Well, I'm going to be 46 in June. I have a girlfriend that I've been with for about almost 8 years. Marriage, at least from a governmental sense, is for now off the table. Just because of the fact that to do so would create an undue hardship with the disability benefits. So there's a little bit of intricate challenges that we're still trying to navigate around. As far as children goes, I am not mature enough. Because of some of the cognitive issues that I have, I'm not mature enough to be able to have children. That was something that I realized early on. And it's something I struggled with for a while, but I've become more at peace about it the older that I get, that my calling is not there.
Yeah.
And you look at the lives of a lot of the saints were not parents either.
Yeah.
They were ministers to their flocks in their own creative ways. So that's kind of where I draw that inspiration from as I'm working on. Not that I see myself as a saint, but I see myself I see myself in that kind of a path where
Of course.
I'm following the path that God has me on wherever it goes.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful for even being on that path to begin with.
Sorry to interrupt, but is your girlfriend Catholic?
No, but her and her family understand how important the faith is to me.
Oh, okay.
And she'll sometimes come with us to Mass if she's not working.
Oh, okay.
She doesn't drive either. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about it is that I've got people within the parish who can give me a ride.
Yeah.
Not everyone has that option, but if Katrina wanted to come along with me, she's more than happy to.
Yeah.
They're more than happy to pick her up along with us. We live in the same complex.
Okay.
She's got her own apartment. I've got my own apartment, but yeah, it's not a big deal for her to pick us up to get to church. Uh, Unfortunately, she works retail, and you know how retail can be.
Oh, yeah. So you mentioned it's a mild case of CP that you have.
Yeah.
Um, you talked about some of the physical stuff with the dizziness and you can't get around, we can't walk so well and all that sort of thing. But with the cognitive stuff, are you limited? Are you limited with in terms of with your intellect? What kind of limitations do you have?
Well, it's a lot of it is in the mental processing a little bit. Certain things take a little bit longer for me to process, and sometimes I've got to be careful. I've learned a lot over the years of how to handle things. So in my particular case, I got to be careful because I can get overstimulated.
Oh,
If I've got information that's being thrown at me too much, my brain
oh,
just does not want to process it.
oh.
It's like you're trying to tell a computer to render video, and the computer is running only Windows 95. That's the kind of situation. That's kind of the situation that I run into
Yeah.
sometimes.
Okay.
I often joke around, but I say that I'm about 95% independent. I can handle the majority of my own affairs. Sometimes I need an advocate to step in. That's just the nature of it.
Yeah.
In the past, it would bother me, but now I've kind of embraced it. For a long time, I was never fully comfortable in my own skin. I always saw myself for my limitations and not what God was letting me do. And but here I am. I mean, I got told ages ago that I'd never live on my own. Uh, Here, 20 some odd years later, I'm actually doing just that. I'm actually living in my own place, managing my own affairs. I've got people who can help me out here and there if I get caught in a jam, which does not happen very often. And I'm resourceful enough to know that when I'm in over my head, that I can get advice, wisdom, and sometimes an extra voice to step in.
Yeah. Well, you're very eloquent, well-spoken, and thoughtful and intelligent. So the limitations you have are, I would say, mild or minor, right?
To a degree, I certainly don't want to watch me try and walk a few blocks. That's just not going to happen.
But
Uh,
what about autism? Because it sounds like the stimulus is sounds like an autistic thing where people can't handle the noise, they can't handle too much complexity with social interactions. But you're very good with social interactions.
I have to be because I'm doing the project because I'm in the public face. When everything's all said and done, and I'm just by myself, I'm spent.
I see.
It
Okay.
takes a tremendous amount of energy. I don't mind doing that though. I love that part
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
And in terms of the sound and stuff, yeah, I can be very sound sensitive. I'm also sensitive to light.
Uh,
Some of that is because of the tinnitus that I have.
oh.
And also with a rare condition called visual snow, where I see a constant, persistent static in my field of vision.
Oh.
Uh, Something that I've had for numerous years. But you know what? That's just part of the challenges of life. I don't let it stop me. I don't let it stop me from doing the project. Today, I was at church and my eyes were going bonkers on me for whatever reason.
Oh.
I'm looking away on stuff and I'm getting after images left and right.
Oh.
And
Wow.
basically, after images are basically echoes of what you just saw,
Yeah.
which can be
Wow.
fun if you're not used to it. It's like, what's going on with me? Well,
Scary.
your eyes are playing tricks on you.
Scary stuff. So you're not prone to big bouts of depression where you don't get out of bed for 2 months or whatever?
No, usually if I start getting like that, I go for a ride.
Okay.
I've got a single speed pedal trick that I will push to the limits.
Ah, okay.
Just to put it into context, on Wednesday I did about an 8.8 mile ride, and then yesterday I did an 8.5 mile ride.
Nice.
Uh,
Clears the head.
Clears the head. makes you sore the next day, especially when you don't know what your choir director's having you sing in the morning.
uh, is
But I love doing that though. I love seeing where I can go on things.
are you like a good singer, a moderately good singer, or a very good singer?
I would like to say that I'm just at least moderate.
Okay,
I don't
okay,
get too many complaints.
okay. People aren't covering their ears when you sing.
No, but if I'm singing in the congregation, like if I'm visiting a parish, I always get a lot of compliments on my voice.
Okay. Which
So
range? Which are you? Alto or tenor or a bass or what?
I'm technically bass, but I've been singing tenor line lately.
That's difficult. The tenor line's difficult, I find.
It is, but I actually didn't do too bad in the last couple of songs we had to sing on that. So
Nice.
as long as I've got someone that I can follow along
I see.
with my ear,
Yeah,
then I can match my voice to that as best I can.
that's very satisfying. Do you
Yeah,
play? Do you play any instruments?
I don't. Probably about the best thing I do is my typing.
Ah, you're a fast typer.
I'm more of a writer than I am anything else.
Ah, ah.
Yeah, I've covered different topics related to faith and disability, of course. Some of my own reflections on my own work and the importance of me doing it. Why do I keep doing this for 24 years? And you know what? It kind of goes back to my desire to serve Christ. If you were to tell me years ago that this is what I'd be doing in my life, I'm not sure I would believe you. If you were to tell me that I'd be going on different programs like Sunrise Morning with Matt Swaim, talking about different things related to faith, disability, and of course the project, I'm not sure I'd believe you. But here I am, the most unlikely person doing the most unlikely things. And I enjoy every minute of it.
What would you say to someone who said, "Hey, John, what are three things I can do to become a better Catholic today?" What are three things? What would you say about that?
Well, it goes down to what I do.
Build
Prayer.
Lego.
No, well, that too, but prayer.
Yeah. Prayer number one.
Prayer is the core of who I am, and it doesn't matter if it's a structured prayer like the Rosary or Divine Mercy. It could just be a conversation with God. I've done that too. Community. Talk to those around you. Don't be a stranger to those in the church. You may not realize that there may be a need, whether it is a prayer or somewhere some help along the line. What would be the good third thing? Oh, that one's going to be a little bit of a challenge. Never be afraid to use your talents for God. Even if you don't think you have any talents, you might surprise yourself. And if you're wondering where God is leading you, pray about it. Ask God to give you a direct sense of direction, wisdom on where to proceed. That's one of my prayers. And some of the times that I'm dealing with stuff, I'm praying for wisdom. I'm not praying for a magic solution. I'm praying for wisdom to come up with a reasonable solution to the problem at hand. And I find that sometimes works out a lot better in the long run because sometimes a door opens that otherwise wouldn't exist.
Absolutely. The homily today on this Pentecost Sunday was about, from my parish priest, was about not being shy to talk about your faith, to share the gifts of the Holy Spirit, and to be, to be the light and the salt of the earth. And so he really gave a gentle message, but it was a message, like you said earlier in this interview, that it's down to us really to be the example or to draw people in with our kindness or with our our understanding or whatever these gifts are that we have, because all the gifts come from the one God, but they're diverse gifts, as St. Paul said. They're very diverse.
Yeah. And there's a lot of different elements to that. A lot of different things that we can do. Like in my case, like when I'm out in the stores, I will literally give people a business card.
Nice.
And I'll also pull out pictures of the project to kind of put everything into context, because like you start talking about giant churches of Legos. What is he talking about? What is this guy off his rocker? But it goes down to the fact that we can't be afraid to share the faith. Yeah, some people are probably going to get bent out of shape over it. We were warned that that was going to happen. Christ's words are very clear on the subject. But being a hope and encouragement to those around us is also critical as well, at least in my rather unique perspective on things.
Are you comfortable reading the Bible? Is that something that you're able to do, or do you get tired?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I've gone through a little bit of here and there. Acts is probably one of my favorite chapters of the Bible.
Me too.
The conversion of St. Paul kind of comes to mind.
Yeah.
Because it shows that God's mercy is very much present, and that's something we don't talk about enough. There are some that are quick to talk about God's judgment, his wrath.
Yeah.
But they're also not equally willing to talk about mercy and compassion, which I think even in this current age is currently lacking. You go up on social media long enough, you wonder, it's like, how are we still standing? Because there's just so much bitterness, anger, with very little consideration as to for where someone else is at.
Yeah.
You see the venom being thrown about. It's like you wonder, it's like, where are these people at spiritually?
Yeah. How do you defend yourself? Because you've maintained a certain amount of innocence, childlike innocence, among people who are like ravenous wolves with their critiques of the church and this sort of thing. And I'm talking about within the church. There are wolves within the church who are attacking. So how do you maintain your joy and your innocence? Do you have self-defense for that, or you just tune out the bad voices?
I try and tune out the bad voices wherever I can, but also at the same time, I understand when you look at the history of the church and everything that has gone in it, you realize that we're always moving from one crisis to another.
Yep.
I've read historical things of what popes have done, some good, some bad. And I put that into perspective in terms of some of these naysayers, some of these people that are critical. I've heard just about every conceivable argument from every conceivable side. I don't try and engage in a lot of those heavy debates because that's not where I'm at.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, if I got someone who wants to tear me a new one for whatever reason, it's like, okay, that's fine. On social media, there's a block button for a reason. But at the same time, though, it's a reminder that we should also pray for them as well.
Yeah.
I just don't engage it because life's too short.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have a good attitude. You have a healthy attitude, and it's what I emphasize in my, my little podcast thing that I do, and my walk with Christ is to have that naturalness, that simplicity, that childlike innocence and purity that you seem to have. I'm not judging your heart. I'm not saying you're a saint. I'm not saying you're a saint, okay? But you have that innocence, that childlike openness and wonder. And that's what I want us to all try to kindle in ourselves, because it's supposed to be Christ living in us.
Yes.
And if we have that will attract others who are seeking that light of Christ, even though they don't know that they're seeking the light of Christ, but they are seeking the light of Christ, because as St. Basil the Great said, everyone seeks the good, therefore everyone seeks God, everyone seeks Christ, right?
Yes.
Be the light of the world, salt of the earth.
That was the theme of World Youth Day 2002.
Oh, did you go?
Yes.
That
That was my first major trip to Toronto.
Which season was that?
Season 2. That was actually at the end of season 2, because that would have been prelude to season 3 at the time. And the only reason why I know is because I tore down season 2 project about a week before I actually left.
Okay.
That was probably the longer build of the seasons, and a feat that's never been repeated.
Oh yeah. Wow. I hope you took photos, lots of photos.
I do. I've got some photos up on Twitter of the various seasons. Also on the Facebook page, Lego Church Project, I've got photos of all 24 seasons. I've got links to different things that I've been involved in, other interviews and such, articles. Uh, it's not so much about the attention; it's about being able to share the faith.
Absolutely.
That's what the core value is with me. Uh, like I wrote in this recent blog post I just posted this morning or this afternoon, a section called "The Old Church." I'm talking about a piano player that comes to our church, and every time the crowd applauses, he's kind of humble about it. He's not doing it for attention. The attention's nice, don't get me wrong, but that's not why we're doing this stuff. We're doing this because we have a desire in our heart to serve Christ.
Well, it's been amazing meeting you. I hope you come back and talk to me again about the faith.
Love to come back. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
I greatly appreciate it.
And I don't know if you know this about me and my little podcast, but there's a little treat for you, the guest, because I always enroll each and every guest in a perpetual mass. So you and your family are going to get the graces of the mass every day till the end of time. Even if, God forbid, you end up in purgatory with me, you're gonna get the graces of the mass every day.
Thank you so much.
So in exchange, just remember to pray for me and mine, okay?
Definitely.
Your prayers are powerful, my brother, and God loves you and I love you, and hope you come back and talk some more about the faith, okay?
Definitely.
Thanks for taking the time, my brother.
Thank you for having me.
God bless.
God bless.
Bye.